The years since Hong Kong's retrocession coincided or saw a number of very destructive and highly improbable financial and economic events. We had the Asian financial crisis that decimated the assets and currency values throughout the region. We had the bursting of the high-tech bubble on Wall Street, which affected fund flow considerably, and I think also put to rest Hong Kong government's one of the plans to set up Hong Kong as a high-tech center at one point. And then the outbreak of SARS in 2003, and then the financial tsunami in the past couple of years ago. But Hong Kong survived all that, and Hong Kong, I think, economically is ahead, is better than the time of transition in probably any measure you look at. So you have to give the people in Hong Kong and the leadership and a lot of credit. That said, if I'm honest with myself, sometimes I can't help but ask whether Hong Kong has had it a little too easy the past few years. And let me explain why. I think Hong Kong's success in the past decade or so needs to be looked at in the broader context of the regional growth and the opportunities. Again, granted, Hong Kong is a very open and competitive economy, and it took advantage of opportunities available, probably better than most other economies. But there are three macro major factors, I think, in the region that favored Hong Kong's growth in the past decade or so. The first one is the secular growth and rapid expansion of the regional economy in the non-Japan Asia area. And many countries had high single-digit growth or even double-digit growth for many years, especially those countries that were kind of late to liberalize and in many ways didn't suffer as much during the Asian financial crisis, countries like India, Vietnam, and of course the PRC. Now, the PRC, back in 1997, at the time of transition, the PRC's GDP was under 1 trillion. Now, granted, the numbers I'm using are not adjusted for inflation or currency appreciations, but still it gives you the magnitude of change over the years. At the end of last year, PRC's GDP was about 5.8 trillion. And so you're talking about growth of several folds since the retrocession. And trade averaged about 20% growth in the past decade or so. So Hong Kong's growth, in many ways, needs to be looked in this context. And in other words, Hong Kong was and continue is a piece of a growing pie. The second factor is the capital account, or the capital financial market in mainland China. And despite the phenomenal economic growth, for many years and even today, PRC's capital account is largely closed. And they began to take a series of steps to liberalize and open the market in the past few years. But by and large, it's still is heavily regulated and fairly closed market. And that offered Hong Kong some unique opportunities, especially in the financial sector. I think the keynote speaker talked about the progress on the stock exchange, and that's widely recognized. But it also kind of tells you that you can get a sense of the other side of the story, in which is the stock exchange and other things on the mainland itself, and the financing activities did not happen or grow as much as they should. For instance, on the Hong Kong Stock Exchange, in the year, the time of retrocession, '07, we had just about 100 mainland companies that were listed in the Hong Kong Stock Exchange. But by last year, I think the number came to like around 600. And the market share of these companies, of the market capitalization of these companies, grew from around mid-teens in '97 to close to 60% today. And our keynote speaker mentioned the fact that Hong Kong was ranked #1 for IPO equity financing last year. And big surprise, 9 out of 10 companies were mainland companies, were mainland Chinese companies. It's in part it's because the mainland stock market has been plagued by all kinds of regulatory legacy issues. And so Hong Kong became the kind of equity or fundraising place of choice for many Chinese companies, whether by design or by default. So that's another factor. A third factor, and related to the second one, is that there's been basically uninterrupted one-way bet of RMB appreciation and asset appreciation since 2004, if not earlier. And it's kind of almost unprecedented, I think. You have other countries with large reserves. You had other countries that had years of growth. But this kind of uninterrupted currency appreciation and expectation of more to come, I think have also given rise to a lot of financing activities out of Hong Kong. For instance, for a lot of investors, the coupon rate, for those of you who are not necessarily in the finance area, the corporate come to the market to raise debt, basically to offer a yield, the coupon rate interest that they agree to pay. And the coupon rate for a lot of companies, the nominal one was, say, 10%. But if you factor in the currency appreciation, it becomes 5%, 6%, or maybe even less. And so it kind of lowered the cost for companies that come to raise debt considerably. And then, of course, if you factor in the asset appreciation, it made investors feel that they have a much bigger room for error. And indeed, I know actually quite a number of investors who kind of were bailed out, if you will, by these currency and asset appreciations during the financial crisis. They did not suffer as much, mainly because their losses were cushioned by RMB appreciation since '05, by asset appreciation since they made the investment. And so these things all helped, in my mind, considerably create opportunities for Hong Kong. Now, it's, as I said, for any country, especially for an economy Hong Kong's size, I mean, the fact that they were able to take advantage of all these opportunities speaks a lot about the quality of the people, the executives, and the leadership. But sometimes I think it's probably not too early to begin to ask the question when these macro trends might begin to change. Now, I'm the first one to say that I do not expect, a lot of these secular trends, I expect them to continue. I think Asia will continue to grow, and I think the RMB is poised to continue this upward trend at the current controlled pace for a few years. But since we're not talking about a short-term, next year kind of investment opportunities, I think it's not too early to think some risk scenarios. And I think even when you look at these secular trends I just mentioned, what I see is the asset, while the RMB appreciation is poised to continue, the expectations for asset appreciation have moderated considerably. I think part of it is because of policy measures by the PRC government, but also there are more legit valuation-based concerns among investors when assets, when real estates in some of the first, second-tier cities in mainland China are comparable in terms of price to real estate in the developed economies with such a gap in average income and everything. I mean, you kind of, it gives you pause and to think whether this kind of uninterrupted appreciation trend will continue at this current pace. Now, the RMB has appreciated by over 27% since 2005. And again, as I said, I think it will, in all likelihood, will continue. But I think we need to ask whether we are closer to the beginning of the process, or closer to the mid-range, or closer to the beginning of an end. Now, mind you, back in 2005, even Beijing's harshest critics were saying that the RMB was undervalued by somewhere between 20 to 40%. And we are getting close to the expected mean, to the 30%. So, I mean, I guess what I'm saying is that the trend, theoretically, or there is a higher probability that in the years ahead the trend might change, but expectations can also change and change quite fast. And I think if I put my investor's cap on, I feel that a lot of the good news is kind of priced in, and I want to begin to think of, to take more time to think about risk scenarios. Thank you.